Well, just want to say hello. On the 10th of May, the plan was that our BMS Link missionaries, Joe and Lois Ovenden, and their kids, Connie, Reuben and Eleanor, were going to be with us at Westwood Baptist. And unfortunately, all the plans have had to change, as we all know. So second best was we just wanted to have this time where we catch up with Joe and Lois and the family. But we've got Heather here, and we've got Paul here, and the children. So Rachel is here, and Noah and Jonah are here, and we've got Reuben here as well. Joe and Lois's middle child. So we just wanted the kids to say hello, and then we'll have a chat with Joe and Lois.
What is church like in Uganda?
There you go. What's church like in Uganda?
What's it like here? What do you think of church, Rue?
Yeah. What does our church building look like? What's it made of?
Bamboo and bricks.
Bamboo and bricks, isn't it?
Bamboo and bricks.
And bricks.
Wow.
And we do singing and dancing, don't we? Worship to God.
Yeah.
And then you go and have your Sunday school, don't you?
Yeah.
Under the mango tree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
International question.
Rachel
wants to know if Reuben likes singing at church.
You like singing, Ruth?
You
love
You're
singing.
great at singing.
So we just wanted Westwood Baptist, this was our chance to, on the 10th of May, for us really to meet you for the first time, and that's not happened. So we want this to be the church's personal meeting with you, rather than we do share your videos, but we just wanted you to just have some personal time with our church. So Joe, we know you're involved in development work, and Lois, we know you're involved in speech and language therapy. Could you just tell us about your work? You're in Gulu in North Uganda. Could you tell us about your work, probably pre-COVID, what your work was involving, and we can talk about current in a minute, but first, what your work was before the lockdown and everything.
So we're in Gulu in northern Uganda, and the main need of the work here has been around the ongoing reconstruction following the long civil war that was going on here kind of for the best part of 20 years. Our longest running ministries have been in training farmers in these quite rurally isolated communities in improved farming methods, helping them to treat their farming work as business, not just as sustenance. Our colleague Tim Darby is a water engineer. He, with another friend, set up a borehole drilling business. We also have a close partnership with the Ugandan Christian Lawyers Organisation. Historically, they've been doing a lot of work around mediating land disputes, which again was a big consequence fallout of the long-running conflict here. But in more recent years, we've been shifting the focus there to provide training for schools to design and implement child protection policies in their own schools and institutions.
I'm a speech and language therapist, and so really great is from last September we got funding for a project to support Faith Over Fear speech and language therapy, which is an Acholi speech therapist. So Acholi is the region here who's been working in a different area of the country, but he really felt that God was calling him back to Gulu, but there isn't really the infrastructure or things like that. So since September, we've been working with him, trying to establish him. He's kind of come into the clinic where I was working, trying to get him set up. And we've also just about a month before COVID, we employed an assistant speech and language therapist and training her to meet the need here. And I think speech therapy might seem like a funny thing in a context like this, but it's not about making people just talk posh. It's about, for me, it's about helping people communicate in the broadest sense. and people who have a communication disability are often really the bottom of the pile, and it affects every aspect of somebody's life. And also here there's a lot of stigma around disability and sin and that, but yes, that's
Lois, we did share your video with the church. Now, I can't remember the child's name, but it was a Down syndrome child that really had lived a life completely isolated, and through speech and language therapy, communication with the family was opened up, and it just transformed the life of the child and the family. Yeah.
So that's Joshua, and actually what's exciting about that family is that his mum, I think I'd set up a Down syndrome support group.
Yeah.
Well, that group has now become its own, what they call community-based organisation, so an official organisation, and so they're registered here, which means they can have a bank account and different things, and the mums are running that. And Joshua's mum, Flavia, she's the chair of that group.
So that's just a snapshot of your work, but obviously I guess your work is very different, as it is for all of us now that we're all dealing with this pandemic worldwide. How's it affecting you?
So yeah, as for everybody, it's a pretty strange time. Our lockdown here started, I can't remember when it was, in March?
It was whenever the schools stopped in the UK, it was that same week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and the government introduced pretty strict restrictions. So, no movement of any private vehicles. So we can't drive cars. All public transport has been stopped. The motorcycle taxis, which is the main way that people tend to move around here, they can't carry passengers. There's a very strict overnight curfew, so everybody has to be home by 7 p.m. and can't move until 6:30, 7 a.m. the following morning. All shops and everything were closed, shut down. Only food shops were open. Some of that's starting to be lifted a little bit more. And it basically meant that overnight, the vast majority of the country, probably, I don't know exactly the stats, but maybe 70 or 80% of people here live more or less day by day, hand to mouth, whatever they, particularly in towns and cities, whatever people earn that day is what, feeds the family that day. So, the vast majority of the country were effectively made unemployed overnight without any government provision. I think we heard that the local district authorities here in Gulu, they had their reserves for food handouts were something like 120 kilos of posho flour, like maize flour, which is people's kind of daily bread here, which is basically enough for like 10 families for a week. And we're now into the president made announcements just a couple of days ago that things are going to be extended for another 2 or 3 weeks at least.
So for us, it's kind of been pretty much a switch to then focusing on how we respond.
BMS has given us money to do an extra seed distribution in this planting season. So we're distributing, in fact it's going on this week, distributing maize seeds, and we're trying to get hold of some beans as well, which has been a little bit tricky, but we've got something in the pipeline for that. So 3 tons of each. The idea being that we're distributing those to farming households that we've worked with over recent years to help them supplement their household incomes, and also to provide some food security for the communities in which they live. So that distribution is going to be to 200 households, and what we're expecting is that's going to produce about 80 tons of foodstuffs. And we're asking the farmers, those farmers that are receiving the seeds, to at least tithe back their harvests, so that we can then distribute some of that stuff here in Gulu town. And also we have connections with Baptist communities in the southwest of Uganda, particularly in Kasese, and they've also experienced severe flooding as well, some of those communities. So we're hoping to be able to do some additional distribution down there as well as a result of the hush up here.
And then with education, because there's no real homeschooling. A friend of ours in our home group, she runs an education charity, and so they're doing daily radio shows. So our colleague Val, our BMS colleague Val, who normally works in child protection here, she's helping with the daily radio shows. I'm writing stories to be read aloud on the shows. So, and they're getting phone calls from all over, really rural, really far north, up towards the South Sudanese border. Children phoning in with questions and things. So that's been really good. As disappointed as we are, it is probably good that we were here when the border shut.
Good for you. Good. So
I'm trying to homeschool,
Sorry,
as everyone is. And we're trying to homeschool, as everybody is, as you're all in that same situation. So the amount of work we're doing is somehow. Yeah.
We've also got Paul and Heather here. Heather's been in touch with you before and sent packages and stuff.
Thank you so much.
This is just a couple of families in the church who have got kids your age. So I don't know, Paul and Heather, if you wanted to just say hello or ask any questions, or Heather, you're on mute.
Yeah, I'm trying to drown out the noise of the children. That's really interesting about the radio programmes, because homeschooling is a real challenge. Also, I'm trying to work at home at the same time, which is my husband's a key worker, so he's not around during the day, so it's quite difficult. But I'm quite interested about your work, Lois. It doesn't sound like you've got a lot of spare time for doing your speech and language therapy, but I was wondering, are you able to continue that on the phone? Or, I'm not sure how the Wi-Fi connection is, or if people have a lot of internet in Gulu, so are you able to do anything like that?
No, virtually no one has that we're working with would have internet at home. Some people have smartphones. Pretty much everyone that can has gone back to their villages to dig and that kind of thing. So Isaac, my colleague, he's following up some people on the phone, and any referrals that we had, trying to triage ready. But so most of the stuff that we're doing is trying to do the stuff that we didn't have time for before. So writing like language and speech assessments in the local language, and get those together. I'm trying to catch up on that paperwork that I've always avoid, because it's not my favorite thing. So the speech therapy stuff has kind of looked more like the background stuff. And then we've still had some referrals. So we're just following those on the phone, trying to get ready for when we can get back out there. And then for Isaac and Miriam, the speech therapy assistant, we've managed to get them internet, that's the word for you guys, internet to do some online courses and things whilst waiting. So it is definitely a slow season for that.
So how has the community changed? How has community dynamics in the local area changed? I mean, we've, in the UK, in Scotland, have largely been sort of moving everything to internet, and a lot of that's continued because of that. And I find it really interesting what you're saying as well about the radio. How has the sense of community changed in the local area?
Yeah, it's hard to tell, because we're not connecting via the internet and things, but it is hard for people because people's gathering point is church. That's a really important thing. And then things like funerals are big things, weddings, all of those things are when people gather as a community. It's not an online society. So I think it really is hard for people, and not being able to travel, because you're not allowed to, you can only go as far as you can walk, really. So I think it has been hard for communities. But the reality is they don't isolate in the same way. Like, people aren't, you still see people about, because that's the way that people live. Like, you see everybody's houses and people are still creating things, but it's hard for people. and that I think the capacity to stick with some of the lockdown measures, they're too hard in reality for people.
Okay. So, Joe and Lois, this has been really helpful for us as a church. Tell us, I mean, we'll pray just now, but to pray for you as a family and to pray for your work and the country of Uganda. Can you give us points that we as a church can helpfully be praying for you individually and your ministry and your country?
Thank you. And honestly, it's just amazing knowing that people are praying for us, and even people, who haven't ever met us, that always feels such a privilege. For us as a family, I think we were really ready for our UK time.
Yeah.
And I feel like lockdown gives people a little glimpse of what it's like, some ways, like having your relationships all done digitally. And so, like, after 19 months of only having digital relationships with our key people, we are really ready to hug our parents, and so, like, the indefinite nature of that is, so it will probably be 2 years at least of being physically separate from family and close friends, and that has taken its toll a bit.
Proper holiday and home comforts and all the food that we love and all those kinds of things. It's
it's mainly
obviously it's mainly people, but it's kind of cumulative things as well, isn't it? So it's,
I think you work towards when you think you're coming back. I think there's this kind of this mental okay, we're pushing through until we get back, and then that's been extended. So and particularly for Connie, I think would probably be the person that's affected the most. She was really looking forward to the UK. So as a family, for that we will be present here, I think, and not just that while God has got us here, that we will be present and enjoy that time here. For us, in terms of work, it's probably the distribution, managing to get beans and get those distributed. Would you say?
To be able to do that quickly enough that we don't miss the rain. Because there should be a drier patch, dry season, although the seasons have been a bit funny the last year or two, but there should be a drier spell come late July, August. So we really need to get the stuff in the ground so that the harvest's not affected.
And for our colleagues in Kasese, so combined with everything, they've had huge floods and landslides and things. So BMS is doing a relief effort there. Then for the country, I suppose the leadership would be my big prayer, because what they decide affects everybody. And so prayer for Museveni, our president, and the people that advise him, that God would give them wisdom in what the restrictions should be, how to manage it, and to thank God for how small the numbers have been here.
I was going to say, I think that's the big thing for me, and kind of on a national level here, is just ongoing prayers that we're spared any significant outbreak. So that we'd continue to be spared community transmission here.
Because there is no healthcare system to overwhelm, really, and that God will just direct the distributions, that people will know that He is their provider, and there are literally people who have nothing, no food, no income, and that God will miraculously provide for them, that they will know that they're not forgotten. The government may forget them, but God doesn't forget them. He sees them, and that somehow through us or through other people, that they will be provided for.
Said this will go out to all in Westwood Baptist, and will go wider than that, and so there will be many people praying at these points that you've asked.
So thank you so much. Really appreciate you taking the time to connect with us, even though we're not coming over there. So thank you. It does mean a lot to us to know that you're connecting with us like that.
Well, it's a blessing to us, and thank you. We will keep in touch however we're able to do it, and we'll
thank
be praying
you
for you. Bless you.
Thank you.
Hey.